Hi everyone, welcome back to my series breaking down the TV show Friends. As I've mentioned before, American sitcoms are full with pop culture, popular culture references that when understood make a lot of the jokes much funnier because you understand why they were saying that in the first place. There are a lot of pop culture references in each episode, and hopefully the breakdown of these for you will help you enjoy the episode more. After I finish explaining one, please go back and watch it again. See how much more you understand, how much funnier or how much more sense it makes to you after you know why those particular jokes were chosen. In the description box below is some extra words and phrases that I didn't discuss so that you can improve your vocabulary or learn about something that you weren't too sure about. So today we are going to break down Season 1, Episode 4, the one with George Stephanopoulos. And I will explain who he is later on in one of the references. So without further ado, let's begin with the first clip.
Hey, Joey, what would you do if you were omnipotent?
Probably kill myself.
Excuse me?
Hey, if little Joey's dead, then I got no reason to live.
Joey, omnipotent.
You are?
The joke about this clip is that they're using the term omnipotent. Omnipotent means having unlimited power, able to do anything. Most people describe God or divine source as omnipotent. And they're all figuring out what they would do if they had unlimited power to do whatever they wanted to do. Joey comes in, who's not the smartest person, so he thinks that they're saying impotent. And impotent is when a man is unable to perform sexually. And that's why he says, well, if that part of him is dead, then he's got no point staying alive. And then Ross tries to clarify for him, no, omnipotent. And so Joey thinks he is saying, I'm omnipotent or I'm impotent. And he goes, oh, Ross, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a hypothetical question or a theoretical question. And that's why everybody just thinks that he's an idiot. And that's the joke.
So I'm guessing you had an extra ticket and couldn't decide which one of you got to bring a date? Huh?
Well, aren't we, Mr. The Glass is Half Empty?
Chandler says Mr. Glass half empty because, and I'm sure you probably have the same thing in your own languages, we talk about people who see the world as glass half full. They're optimists. And people who see the world as glass half empty, they're pessimists. So he's basically saying, you're a pessimist.
Come on, Russ.
All right. Maybe it will take my mind off it. You promise to buy me a big foam finger?
You got it.
All right.
A foam finger, as you can see in the picture, is something that you only really see at American sporting events. I think they do exist here in Canada, but you basically see them mainly at American sporting events. And it's this giant foam finger. You slip your hand into it and you can hold your hand up and you can wave. And it's got one finger up, like we're number one. And so he says, I'll go if you buy me a big foam finger.
God, isn't this exciting? I earned this. I wiped tables for it. I steamed milk for it, and it was totally not worth it. Who's FICA? Why's he getting all my money?
FICA, FICA, stands for the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. And it's a tax in the United States. And on her paycheck, there was obviously a certain amount of tax going to FICA. And she says, well, who is FICA and why is he taking all my money?
What?
Peach pit.
Yes, Bunny?
The funny thing about this little bit is that Ross sees a peach pit on the floor, which is the seed inside the fruit, a peach. Somebody's obviously discarded one. And he says, peach pit. And he's going to say that Carol and him ate nectarines, which are similar to peaches. And Chandler makes the joke because he thinks that he's giving him a little nickname. Oh, hello, Peach Pit. And he says, yes, Bunny. And that's why that joke is funny.
We thought since Phoebe was staying over tonight, we'd have kind of like a slumber party thing. We got some trashy magazines, we got cookie dough, we got Twister. Oh, and I brought Operation. But, I lost the tweezers, so we can't operate. But we can prep the guy.
A slumber party, also known as a sleepover or a pajama party, is a huge part of our culture. And I've had a lot of students who have said it's not a part of theirs, where kids go to each other's houses to sleep over. Depending on the age of the children, they will watch certain TV shows or movies or talk about kids in their class or boys or girls, and they laugh and they joke and they do all sorts of things, and they are all in their pajamas. And usually you take a sleeping bag with you, or at least that's what you did in the 80s when I was a child, and the 70s and 80s, and you put all of your sleeping bags in the living room on the floor and you all spend the night together. And so Monica says, I thought we would have a slumber party thing. She lists all of the things that she has to make it a slumber party. Cookie dough, which is this. It comes in tubes, and you cut it, and you just cut it in slices, and you put it on a baking sheet, and it makes cookies, usually chocolate chip cookies. But a lot of people like to eat the raw dough. It's a very big thing in the US. Trashy magazines, which is gossip magazines, and Twister, which is a specific game that I'm going to mention in a reference later. And then Phoebe says, I brought Operation, which is another very famous board game in the US. It's a battery-operated game designed to test your hand-eye coordination. It has like a pair of tweezers and a little light if you make a mistake, and there's a little guy on it, and you've got to do some operations, use the tweezers to do certain operations. And so Phoebe says, I lost the tweezers, but we can still prep the guy, prepare him for surgery, which doesn't really work much in that game. The game is all about the tweezers and fixing his ailments correctly.
Okay. Rachel has left the building. Can you call back?
Rachel has left the building is just a reference to Elvis Presley. It was popularized by Elvis Presley's concert announcers, that the moment that the concert was over, they would say, Elvis has left the building, because the women would go crazy and they would try to storm the stage or to find him. And so they were saying, he's left the building, he's not here, go home. So she says Rachel has left the building when she's not capable of having that phone call.
I gave up, like, everything. And for what? You are just like Jack. Jack from downstairs? No, Jack and the Beanstalk. The other Jack. Yeah, right.
Jack and the Beanstalk is a huge fairy tale that all of us learn when we're younger. It's an English fairy tale about a poor farm boy called Jack. And he lives with his mother. His father has died. And they have this one cow that they milk. And he trades this cow for a handful of magic beans. And it really upsets his mother. And she gets so angry, she throws the beans away. And overnight, it grows into this huge beanstalk that goes up into the clouds. And Jack climbs the beanstalk and finds at the top this magic castle owned by a giant. And over a few trips up and down the beanstalk, he steals a bag of gold, and he steals a golden egg-laying goose or hen, depending on the version, who can lay golden eggs that can be sold. And he finally steals this magical harp that plays beautiful music. In the last journey up the beanstalk, the giant almost catches him, and he chops the beanstalk down, and it falls down, and it kills the giant. And he's able to keep everything that he stole, and him and his mother live happily ever after. And so Phoebe is saying, you're like Jack with the magic beans. The reference to what happens if whatever we get in life is not magic and amazing. What if it's just ordinary?
What, are you nuts? We got George Stephanopoulos' pizza! Phoebes? Who is George Stephanopoulos? That's Big Bird's friend.
Now we get to George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos was an advisor to the Democratic Party. He worked very closely with Bill Clinton. He became the White House communications director. He was quite short. That's why she says, oh, the little guy. And he wore a lot of like stunning blue suits and power ties. And power ties are usually red and they're designed to show confidence. And Rachel doesn't know who he is. And so she says, who is George Stephanopoulos? That's why Phoebe makes the joke, oh, he's Big Bird's friend. Because Big Bird was a character on Sesame Street. Mr. Stephanopoulos was a character on Sesame Street. And so she says, oh, that's Big Bird's friend.
Oh, that's attractive. Oh, I thought you were great in Silence of the Lambs.
The reference to Silence of the Lambs is because Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who was the serial killer in the movie Silence of the Lambs, played by Anthony Hopkins, wore a mask whenever he was taken out of his cell, and the gear that Ross is wearing on his face after his accident looks like Dr. Hannibal Lecter, so Chandler says, oh, I loved you in Silence of the Lambs.
That's my puck.
I found it. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
You gotta do it, man.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you...
Finders keepers is a chant that we all learned as children. Finders keepers, losers weepers. If I find it, I can keep it. You lost it, so you cry. To weep is to cry. Finders keepers, losers weepers. It's now mine. I found it. You lost it. You need to be sad. And usually when you say something like that, kids will counter each other with different rhymes that they learned in sort of a verbal fight. And so Ross started saying, oh yeah, well, I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you, which as he started to say it, he was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't be that juvenile and childish. Just give me back my puck. And a puck is what hit him in the face in the first place. A puck is a black disc that is the ball in ice hockey. And he wanted to get it back from the kid who found it because they left it lying around while he was getting his face fixed up.
Okay, Monica. Right foot red.
We could have played Monopoly, but no!
Now we come back to Twister. Twister is a game where you spread a large plastic mat on the ground. It has 4 rows of 6 large colored circles with 4 different colors. And it has a little board with a spinner on it, and you spin the spinner and it lands on something, like telling you to put your right hand on red, your left foot on blue, your left hand on green, and the person whose turn it is needs to twist their body in order to get their hands or their feet on the circle that is being indicated on the spinner. And eventually somebody will fall over, as you see in the end, because they can't quite twist in that direction. And earlier on in the show, Rachel starts crying and saying, let's play Twister, because she's upset. And they do play Twister at the end. And there's also a reference to, we should have played Monopoly, which is a far easier game, a board game where you go around and you buy different properties. The game Twister promotes itself by saying it's the game that ties you up in knots, and that's Twister. I hope you enjoyed all of those references. There's a few bits of trivia I'm going to tell you about now. The first is the laughing in the fountain in the theme song at the beginning, and I know it's at the beginning of every Friends show, but I thought I would address it now. Matthew Perry kept everybody laughing. They had to be in that fountain for hours and hours and hours when they were filming it. They were wet, they were cold, they were not very happy, but it was Matthew Perry that kept everybody laughing. And Lisa Kudrow, who plays Phoebe, is famous for saying that he is the only reason they got all of those good shots. And a couple of the jokes were like, I can't remember a time when I wasn't wet, or I can't remember a time when I wasn't cold. and they just kept laughing, and they got the footage. I'm also going to just mention the ice hockey part of the show. They mention the Rangers versus the Penguins. The Rangers are the New York ice hockey team. The Penguins are the Pittsburgh ice hockey team. They were going to be playing each other. Ice hockey players are famous for having no teeth because even though they have the masks on, it's a very violent game and they often get their teeth knocked out. So there's a reference to toothless guys hitting each other with sticks because they also hit each other with their hockey sticks. If you talk about hockey in America or Canada, it always means ice hockey. But if you talk about hockey predominantly in the Southern Hemisphere, like the country that I was born in, South Africa or Australia, they are talking about field hockey, which is a different game completely. There's similarities. The sticks look a little bit similar, but obviously have been changed for grass or ice. The ball is round in field hockey, but it's the puck, as I mentioned before, which slides along the ice in ice hockey. They also played at Madison Square Garden, and it's a multi-purpose indoor arena in Midtown Manhattan. It's very, very famous. You will see Madison Square Garden mentioned in so many different movies and series set in New York. And the last thing that I'm going to mention, because I don't remember it in the first 3 episodes, I think this is the first time that they refer to Monica as being fat before. And in future episodes, for those of you that are fans, you would have seen Fat Monica. They call her Fat Monica, but she was a lot bigger when she was younger. And so that's why Rachel says, because Monica was a big girl. I hope you enjoyed these references, the bit of extra information. Please go back and watch it. I'm sure you will enjoy the episode so much more. Of course, as usual, I loved telling you about it, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks for episode number 5, the one with the East German laundry detergent.